Hello everybody, this is Pastor Green. We're doing another Bible study, Exodus chapter 36. If you'd like me to come speak at your church, or if you have any questions, you can email me at godsohman@gmail.com. Exodus 36 with verse 1. Then wrought Bezaleel and Aholiab, and every wise-hearted man in whom the Lord put wisdom and understanding, to know how to work all manner of work, for the services of the sanctuary, according to all that the Lord had commanded. Now Bezaleel, if you remember from a couple chapters ago, is a man that God gave talent to be able to make certain things. Carpentry, metalwork, gold. He gave this guy talent to do these things. And Aholiab would be his assistant. You know, throughout the Bible, whenever God brings somebody to be his champion or be somebody important, he always gives them an assistant, and Aholiab is going to be his assistant. And Moses called Bezaleel and Aholiab, and every wise-hearted man in whose heart the Lord had put wisdom, everyone whose heart stirred with him up to come up to the work to do. So these two guys are going to build the tabernacle, all the different parts to it. Today we're going to talk about the veil that goes on top of the tabernacle. And they received of Moses all the offering which the children of Israel had brought for the work of the service of the sanctuary, to make it withal. And they brought yet unto him free offerings every morning. So you remember a couple chapters ago, Moses told the people, we'll build this tabernacle. Anybody who volunteers to give gold, silver, wood, cloth, whatever, to the tabernacle, you can do it on your own free will. It'll help us build the tabernacle. And that's what this is talking about right here. And all the wise men that wrought all the work of the sanctuary came every man from his work which they made. And they spoke to Moses, saying, the people bring much more than enough for the service of the work which the Lord commanded to make. This is probably the last time in the history that a church ever said, hold on, you guys are bringing too much offering. You got to stop bringing offering. And Moses gave commandment that they caused it to be proclaimed throughout the camp, saying, let neither man nor woman make it any more work for the offering of the sanctuary. So the people were restrained from bringing. So Moses is telling the people, okay, everybody, we got all the gold, we got all the silver, the bronze, we got all the cloth, we got all the wood, we got everything we need to build this sanctuary, build this tabernacle now. You guys don't got to bring anything else. For the stuff they had was sufficient for all the work to make it and to do much. So they had plenty of offering to build this tabernacle. And every wise-hearted man among them that wrought the work of the tabernacle made 10 curtains of fine twined linen, and blue and purple and scarlet, with cherubims of cunning work making them. So they had these 4 different colors. They had the fine twined linen, which was a white color, a blue, purple, and a scarlet. And a scarlet is kind of like a dark red, like a blood color. And they said they put cherubims on it. And a lot of people, they will tell you what they think that the Holy of Holies looks like. It's got cherubim on it, different colors. Nobody really knows, but it's just a picture right here. And if you want to know more about that, you can go to the Dr. Thurston's website. You can call him. His number's on top there. And you can check out his website. You can the blue there is going to tell you what his website, his email is. So you can email him if you want. And you can go to the Evidence Bible Institute and check out his work. I think he's in Ohio. I'm not quite sure. In Matthew 27, it says, and the soldiers of the governor took Jesus to the common hall, and they gathered unto him the whole band of soldiers, and they stripped him, and they put on him a scarlet robe. Remember, the tabernacle had white, blue, silver, and another color I can't remember off the top of my head. But right here, scarlet. And then in Exodus 23, and thou shalt make the robe of the ephod olive blue. So blue is going to be another color. And if you go to number 27, this is, and they spit upon him and took the reed and smote him on the head. And after that they had mocked him. They took off the robe off of him and put on his own raiment on him, and led him away to crucify him. Since Christ was a priest, he would have a blue raiment. He would have a blue robe. So that's blue and scarlet right there. So that's already 2 things. And you actually will see later on that they put white on them, and they put all these different colors on them, basically showing the tabernacle. Back to Exodus 36, verse 9. And the length of one curtain was 28 cubits, that's 42 feet. And the breadth of the one curtain was 4 cubits, and the curtains were all of one size. And if you actually look at Genesis, it talks about when they're building the ark, different cubits. And if you look at the bottom left of the screen there, the way a cubit was measured was from the elbow to the tip of the middle finger. So it says here that the ark was 300 cubits long. Later on in history, they actually modernized the cubit because everybody's cubit from their elbow to their finger is going to be different length. They went ahead and modernized it. The Babylonian royal cubit was 19.8. The Egyptian cubit was 20.67 for a long and 17.6 for a short. And the Hebrew said it was 20.4 for a long and 17.5 for a short. And if you look at the Noah's Ark here, you can see that it's about 515 feet, which would be about 300 Egyptian cubits. So the Noah's Ark fits perfectly with what the Bible says. And you can see how it's compared to the Titanic. Titanic was 882 foot long, and the Ark was 300 cubits long. Back to Exodus 36. And he coupled the 5 curtains one to another, and the other 5 curtains he coupled to one another, and he made loops of blue on the edges of the curtain from the selvage of the couplings. Likewise he made the uttermost sides of another curtain and the coupling of the second. And you can actually buy a sample of the tabernacle for your kids to play with online. I think it's like $60. Well, it's $59.73 plus $6 shipping. But you can actually have your kids make a tabernacle at home, and I've actually thought about having this in my house. Exodus 36:12. 50 loops made he of one curtain, and 50 loops made he of the edge of the curtain, which was on the coupling of the second. The loops were held with one curtain to another, and he made 50 taches of gold and coupled the curtains one to another with the taches, so it became one tabernacle. So these taches here are a way to make 2 curtains fit together. And what they would do is they put this like little staple feature, where they had these little eyes, and the staple would go in there of gold, and they would clip them together. In that way, the curtains would basically be one big long curtain. Exodus 36:14. And he made curtains of goat skin or goat's hair for the tents over the tabernacle. 11 curtains he made them. The length of one curtain was 30 cubits, and 4 cubits was the breadth of one curtain. 11 curtains were one size. And he coupled 5 curtains by themselves and 6 curtains by themselves. And he made 50 loops upon the outermost edge of the curtain of the coupling, and 50 loops he made upon the edge of the curtain which he coupled the second. And he made 50 taches of brass to couple the tents together, that it might be one. They made a covering for the tent of ram skin dyed red, and a badger skin above that. If you've ever seen a badger, they're not exactly the best skin to look at. It's not exactly an attractive thing, but there's a reason probably why the Bible says that he used badger skin. It says here, why are badgers so dangerous? Not only is the skin tough, but it's loose enough that a honey badger can turn around inside of its skin and bite its attacker. And speaking of bites, the honey badger can survive the bites of very dangerous creatures. They eat scorpions and snake, and they have a very unusual immunity to venom. So badger skin is extremely tough, but it's also loose enough that the badger can turn around inside of it. And then, here's a question: what does the badger mean? Badger is to bother. If you badger someone, you get under their skin. A badger is an animal that digs tunnels under the ground to keep warm. The badger can also mean to persuade someone through constant annoying efforts. So, this is just something about badger. In Zacchaeus 2, it says, "For thus saith the Lord of hosts, after the glory he has sent me to the nations will spoil you. For he that touches you touches the apple of his eye. For behold, I will shake my hand upon them, and they shall be a spoil to their servants, and ye shall know that the Lord of hosts has sent me." So in Zacharias is saying, you're going to go in there and you're going to basically badger them. You're going to make them be afraid of you, and they're going to be sorry that they mess with you. So if you look at the tabernacle here, you're going to have the badger skin on the outside. It's probably not going to have a great appearance. It's going to hide what's inside of it. Then you're going to have a ram skin dyed red, and that's going to signify the blood. Then you have woven goat hair, which is white, and that's going to be, perfection and offering, basically for the sin offering. It's gonna turn things white, and then underneath that you're gonna have fine linen, and you're gonna have fine linen that you're actually gonna see from the bottom. That's what you're gonna see when you look up. So you have badger skin, ram skin, goat's hair, and fine linen. And that's what you're going to see when you look up. You're going to see this beautiful fine linen, but on the outside people are going to see badger skin, and they're not going to want to go in there and mess with it. And it's interesting, if you look at Israel, they basically have fought in a bunch of wars. And every single war, I think except for one, Israel has won. You can see right here, what looks like the security zone conflict, Israel lost. It says Israel withdrew from Lebanon. And then over here, it's the Operation Protective Edge. It says both sides claim victory. But Israel have won a bunch of wars, and there's a small little itty-bitty country. This right here says David Ben-Gurion proclaimed the Israel Defense Declaration of Independence on 14 May 1948. His first order was the formation of the IDF, the Israel Defense Forces. The Israel Defense Forces was based on the personnel who had served in the Hagan and the Palmash, and was declared the only legal armed forces in Israel. Another main source of manpower was the immigrants from Europe. Some of them were Holocaust survivors, and others were veterans from World War II. So this guy made the Israel Defense Force in May of 1948. It says, following the Declaration of Independence in 1948, Arab enemies invaded Israel. Egypt came from the south, Lebanon and Syria from the north, Jordan from the east, backed by Iraq and Saudi troops. And what Islam Pasha, Israel League Secretary, speaking on Cairo radio, declared would be a war of extermination, a momentous massacre. So they basically said there's no way this Israel can defend against all these troops. It says the initial phase of the war, the Israel Defense Formation, was inferior in both number and armament. Invading the Arab armies boasted 270 tanks, 150 field guns, and 300 aircraft. The IDF had 0 planes and only 3 tanks. And due to a number of reasons, the Arabs never managed to exploit their superiority in numbers. The Israelis managed to successfully defend themselves in virtually all battlefields, with a notable exception of East Jerusalem. This is from the History of the Israel Defense Forces from Wikipedia. And you can also learn more about Israel for the Root Awakening. Michael Root has a program, and he talks a lot about Israel and their tabernacle and things like that. Exodus 36:20. And he made boards for the tabernacle of shittim wood, standing up. The length of the board was 10 cubits, and the breadth of the board was 1 cubit and a half. And one board had 2 tenions, equally distant from one another. Thus he did make it for all the boards of the tabernacle. So you had these boards going down the length of the tabernacle, and they had a rod of shittim wood going in there to hold all these boards together. And you can see that the boards would just slide in place. Then they would put this rod to connect them all. And he made boards for the tabernacle, 20 boards for the southwards, and 40 sockets of silver he made under the 20 boards, 2 sockets under one board for the 2 tinions, and 2 sockets under the other board for the other 2 tinions. And you can see on the side here, they would put these little tinions into this silver rod at the bottom to hold it in place. And then those would just line up the whole entire wall. Then they'd put a rod into it to keep it in place. And for the other side of the tabernacle, which was towards the north corner, he made 20 boards, and there are 40 sockets of silver, 2 sockets under one board, and 2 sockets under the other board. And for the sides of the tabernacle westward, he made 6 boards. And 2 boards made he for the corners of the tabernacle, and of the 2 sides. And they were coupled beneath and coupled together at the heads thereof to one ring. Thus he did both of them and both the corners. And there were 8 boards, and their sockets were 16 sockets of silver, under every board 2 sockets. And he made bars of shittim wood, 5 for the boards of one side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the boards of the other side of the tabernacle, and 5 boards of the tabernacle for the sides westward. And he made the middle bar to shoot through the boards from the one end to the other, and he overlaid the boards with gold, and made their rings of gold to be placed in the bars, and overlaid the bars with gold. And he made a veil of blue and purple and scarlet and fine twined linen, with cherubims made he of cunning works. And if you go online and you look up the tabernacle veil, you're going to get all kind of pictures. This is one I just found. I liked the way it looks, so I picked it. And they shall make a veil of blue and purple and scarlet of fine twined linen of cunning work, and with cherubim shall it be made. And thou shalt hang it upon 4 pillars of shittim wood, overlaid with gold, and their hooks shall be of gold upon the 4 sockets of silver. And thou shalt hang up the veil under the taches, and thou mayest bring thither with the veil of the ark of the testimony, and the veil shall divide you between the holy place and the most holy. So you're going to have a spot in the front here, which is going to be the holy place. And then the spot in the back is going to have the Ark of the Covenant, and that's going to be the Holy of Holies. And you're going to have a curtain divider there. And again, if you look, people can have all different kind of pictures of what it looks like. There's this one here that's got some cherubim on it. And of course you have this one here, and then there's one on the right there. And of course there's also this one. Just different pictures that people would think would be the way it would look. And then a priest would go in there once a year, and he'd do the sacrifices for the whole country. And this version right here was from Josephus. It said, before these doors there was a veil of equal largeness with the doors. It was a Babylonian curtain embroidered with blue and fine linen and scarlet and purple. And its contexture that was truly wonderful. Nor was his a mix of colors without a mystical interpretation. But it was a kind of image of the universe. For the scarlet there seemed to be enigmatically signified fire by the fine flax of the earth, by the blue of the air, by the purple of the sea, 2 of them having their colors in the foundation of resemblance. Of the fine flax and the purple had their own origin for that foundation, the earth producing one another and the sea of the other. The curtain had also embroidered upon it all that was mystical in the heavens, excepting that of the 12 signs representing living creatures. And I believe these 12 signs we're talking about as the zodiac signs. People have taken these zodiac signs to mean something different. But I personally believe, and many other people believe, that these zodiac signs are actually the gospel of the sky. It's going to start with Virgo the Virgin and end with Leo the Lion. And it's going to basically give you the gospel in the skies. And this is by Josephus. Josephus was a famous historian during Jesus' time. This is something else here. Rabbi Simeon B. Gamaliel says that the name of our Simeon, son of the Perfect, the veil was 1 handbreadth thick, which is about 4 inches, and was woven on a loom having 72 rods, and over each rod were 24 threads, its length was 40 cubits, and its breadth 20 cubits. So we're talking about the length is like 60 feet high. So you can imagine a 60 feet high curtain that's 4 inches thick. And in the book of Matthew and Mark, it says that, behold, the veil of the temple was rent from twain from the top to the bottom, and the earth did quake and the rocks rent. And if you go to Mark, it says the veil of the temple was rent from twain from the top to the bottom. Now imagine a 60 foot high curtain, 4 inches thick or 2 inches thick or whatever it was, ripping from the top to the bottom. No man can get up there to rip it, and even if they could, they couldn't rip 2 or 4 inches. So it would have to be God that ripped it from the top to the bottom. And you can see here, if it was ripped from the top to the bottom, it had to be God. And now God's signifying that you no longer have to go through a priest to come see me. You can come talk to me whenever you want. The holiest of holies is ripped from top to bottom, meaning you can come and you can talk to God. You don't need any kind of like special person to do it. God's saying now you can come to me. You don't have to go through all these different rituals. And he made thereunto 4 pillars of shittim wood, and overlaid them with gold. Their hooks were of gold, and there cast over them 4 sockets of silver. And he made a hanging for the tabernacle door of blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine twined linen of needlework, and the 5 pillars of it with their hooks. And he overlaid their chapiters and their fillets with gold, but on their 5 sockets were of brass. Guys, I appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions, you can email me, but you can also comment below. Make sure you subscribe and like the content. If you think somebody might want to know about this, go ahead and share it with them. Apparently sharing is the best way to help with the algorithm to get me more views. On the bottom left on the bottom right of the screen, I'm going to have the Exodus Bible study, so you can click on that. You can start on chapter 1 if you want. Top left is going to be Genesis Bible study, And then below that on the bottom left is going to be just some random video that YouTube picks out for you. I appreciate you guys watching. I hope to see you next time. Have a great day.